All right, I'd like to call this November 21st Park Board meeting to order at 5:33 p.m. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Sharon, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Marquardt?
Here.
Mr. Justice?
Here.
Mrs. Miller? Here. Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
Mrs. Dixon?
Here.
Mrs. Rivera? Here. Mr. Bungie?
Present.
Mr. Austin?
Present.
Mrs. Ray?
Present.
Mr. Wiseman is absent, and I am here.
Thank you. All right, well, I'd like to welcome Dave Justice, our new Park Board member. So welcome to the board. Thank you. We'll start with the consent agenda. Number 1 is the minutes of the October 3rd meeting. Number 2 is claims. Parks and Rec General Fund, $30,913.75. Park Impact Fee Fund, $0. Parks and Rec Non-Reverting Fund, $960. Clubhouse Non-Reverting Fund, $8,982.34. Total expenditures for the month of $40,856.09. Under donations, Schillings donated $1,000 to the Taylor Ice Fest. Braden Denklau, the Eagle Scout project was an in-kind donation, and I believe we'll review that in the meeting packet to see the results of that. So is there any discussion from the board on the consent agenda?
Just a thank you for the donation and the Eagle Scout project. I thought that was really cool.
Yep. Thank you for the donations as always. Is there a motion by a board member to accept the consent agenda?
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
Seconded.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Miller, second by Mr. Marquardt. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
And Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. Item number 1 under old business is the Eagle Scout project update. And I think we just have some pictures. So it looks like Braden finished the stick wall at the dog park. And I think and then is it like a toy chest? Take a toy, leave a toy, or? Okay.
Yeah, it's a dog.
Okay.
Toy chest.
And how are the dogs liking it, Greg?
They ate all the balls already.
Okay, all right.
Hopefully they didn't swallow them.
No, just the outside.
Okay. Well, I'd just like, if Braden's listening or if he watches this on YouTube later, just want to thank him for contributing to the parks and, using his talents for good. So I guess after this we can just table this item going forward since the project's complete. So I'd solicit a motion from the board to table this item.
I'll motion to table the Eagle Scout project.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Ms. Miller, second by Mr. Marquardt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. Number 2 is Town Grounds Use and Management by Parks Department. I don't think we really have any updates on this. Nothing much more to discuss.
It's just kind of sitting out there with a bunch of open-ended questions.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I think we're just trying to tackle those items as they arise. Yeah, and as they come up, I think. The one question I had was, I know we had a custodian employee that was transferred to do other items. Do we know if that employee is going to assist with us going forward, or I know we recommended to possibly add a part-time custodial position. I think that's really the only thing I could think of that falls under this item.
Recommendation was made but has not been before been placed on the agenda for the council
Okay.
for review. But you guys made a recommendation back in September
Mm-hmm.
for 2 part-time positions.
Okay. I know that, you know, there's some discussion with council when we had our executive session of it, it was a necessary position. I think the next step would be for us to prepare like some type of written proposal to show the need, or not the need, but at least to do some type of internal analysis that could be presented to council so that you can see on paper why there's a need, how it would impact budget or not impact budget, and just lay out some of that. Is that acceptable for council? Maybe just, because I think when we had our meeting, we only had, you know, you guys showed up, which was great, and Mr. Thiel showed up. But maybe if we had some type of written proposal just to present to you guys and then review it, ask questions to Mindy or us, I think that might be a better way to tackle this going forward.
That's something that we could try to get on the agenda then for January, and proposal could be prepared for January's meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to be crazy between now and January, so let's keep an eye on it, but maybe that's something where we can sit and prepare some type of proposal or just some type of written explanation.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Any other discussion from the board on town grounds use and management?
Well, Mindy, were there any other pressing issues that you think?
The only other thing, because we are going to talk about the fee schedule tonight, is that there was a request to create a non-reverting account for the shelter rentals and town ground rentals to go into, so the Parks Department, who's been maintaining and repairing and improving the grounds, would have access to those funds. They go into the town's general budget and not into the park budget. So that, if those funds are starting to, although there hasn't been a lot, if we're investigating dumping more money into shelters and improvements in the grounds as the Parks Department, you had suggested this, and it just hasn't gotten an answer, a firm answer on that, so.
Okay. Well, and to kind of piggyback off of that, if we did open up the use of the concession stand or something similar, could we use one non-reverting fund for the rentals and concession, or it's got to be separate?
I would separate them.
They'd have to be separate, okay.
But you don't want to have a billion non-revertings, I'm sure that's
No,
hard, it
no,
could be for
no.
those who have to deal with those, but just reallocating those shelter and ground rental fees to go into a fund to help support and repair and make improvements upon the things that we're trying to with town grounds.
Okay. And maybe that's something where, I know we're gonna discuss the roof of Lion's Den, and obviously the gazebo needs to be rebuilt at some point. So maybe once those items, those facilities are kind of back up to rent.
This one?
Any gazebo.
Oh, okay.
Any gazebo, replacement of any
It was
gazebo.
already taken care of.
Oh, okay.
Right, do you have update on that?
Yeah, it's all done. That had to be done by November because of the insurance contract. Oh,
So a new
good.
gazebo will be being placed in the area you proposed over by the bandstand and yacht club.
Okay, so maybe once those items are kind of finished and we have those rentable facilities, then we can bring back that request to clerk treasurer of establishing a non-reverting fund. Because, right now, nobody's renting anything, and, there's some necessary repairs that need to be made, so.
Yeah.
It would be an ordinance for the town council,
Okay,
if you requested it.
yeah. And I think we might have
You did.
previously, I know clerk treasurer had some different opinions on establishing a non-reverting fund, but maybe we can revisit that.
You made a recommendation to the council for it.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on town grounds use and management?
I'll make a motion to defer discussion to our December meeting for this topic.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Miller, second by Mr. Marquardt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Markort,
Yes.
Mr. Justice,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
and Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Number 3 under old business is park maintenance shop. I don't think there's really any updates to
No
this.
updates at this time.
We kind of had like a conceptual, very preliminary site plan done by the engineering firm. That was provided to the master plan context design to include in their Yeah, so that was kind of,
But we're not conceptualizing that.
it's not a concept site for there, but we did provide it to them so that they
Well, we
can-
talked a lot about the need for a
Mhm.
park maintenance shop in that master
Okay.
plan, but because that's not a conceptual site, the
Yeah.
site plan is kind of
Okay.
just ours.
So we have
We have
one
it.
that we can kind of work off for the future. Obviously, we'll need to identify funding mechanisms for that. And maybe once this master plan is finalized, those funding mechanisms will open up to us. Any other discussion from the board on this item?
I would just say keep us posted if there's any issue with the current equipment and a need to put that somewhere.
Has there been any other movement with us storing equipment at Public Works or anywhere else?
There, Boston Epstein
Okay.
there as well, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
All right, well, I'll just motion to defer park maintenance shop to December as well.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Ms. Miller, second by Mr. Markwart. Roll call, please.
Mr. Markwart?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Okay, number 4, Park Foundation. So we currently have 2 applicants that were interested. The filing deadline to renew the Park Foundation from a legal status is coming up at the end of this month. We need 3 members on the Park Foundation to sign off to renew the business status or the nonprofit status of the Park Foundation. Do we know if these 2 applicants are still interested?
Kathy's here.
Okay, so Kathy's here, I know.
You're interested, correct? You're interested? Yeah.
Yes, okay. And Cheryl Parker was the other interested applicant.
I haven't gotten confirmation from her, but she also didn't ask us to withdraw her application.
Okay,
At
so-
any point.
I guess at this point, we can assume that Cheryl Parker's also still interested unless she says otherwise. So we need a third member, whether it's permanent or temporarily, just to be able to sign off to renew the application or the status for the Park Foundation. So I'll just open it up to an open recruitment if anyone's interested in just being that third member, whether it's permanent or temporarily. You're free to resign after the status is renewed. But we do need a third person, and unfortunately, it can't be a board member of the Parks Board, and we would need to recommend you to Town Council for that appointment. So anyone in the audience, if you're if you're interested,
Still setting the rules, so it's not-
okay. It just would, it would just be a temporary thing, unless you were interested in doing this permanently.
What's the salary?
Not enough.
I'll pick up an application.
What's that?
I'll pick up an application.
If you'd like, we can proactively just recommend your name, and you can retroactively fill out an application.
Okay.
And it's totally up to you. If you'd like to resign immediately, you can. We still need to figure out how the Park Foundation's going to move forward, so there really isn't
A lot of-
much else to do. We just need someone, from town to.
We need a name.
We need a name.
Thanks, Marlene.
Okay.
Do you want me to email you the application?
Can I pick it up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that works too. Sharon can get it off the,
I'm not good
I
at
didn't get to the
computers.
essence yet. I
Good.
didn't send a message.
I just have my phone with me.
I'm sorry, what's your last name?
SUMARA.
Yeah, okay.
thank you, Marie.
And Kathy, what's your last name?
Broomhead.
Bruman.
Just like it sounds.
Okay. Okay. All right, so we have 3 members that can at least, sign off on renewing the status of the Parks Foundation. Definitely going to be an important foundation going forward. Obviously, we'll need people that are willing to, put some time and effort into that foundation, as a nonprofit funding mechanism that would work alongside the Parks Board. But we also need to jump through just the technicality of renewing that for the next year. So any other discussion on this item? Anything from Dave or no? Okay. So, yeah, go ahead.
If you
I
get
will
a-
make a motion,
If you get a hot recruit,
what's that?
circulate and get three checkoffs.
What's that?
If you get a hot recruit, somebody walks in your bank and you like.
Yeah. Okay.
More than three.
Yeah, we can take, what, 5 is the board?
And you could all acknowledge you've got a hot prospect and
Yeah.
we can get the job done for
Yeah, we're
till
still,
December. We'll come back and ratify everything, clean up the record.
Okay.
and I guess we're gonna keep applications open until the 5th, 4th members are,
Yeah, we'll keep application. So when's the deadline for?
it was today.
It was today.
Mhm.
Okay, so we should extend, the application deadline. We can extend it to the end of the year.
Council special meeting, when?
Ask me questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The posted application date, I think, was December 20th for new applicants, right?
For the town,
Yeah.
the town just posted all open vacancies and they have to
That's-
add Park Foundation.
And so the deadline for those applications, I think, was the 20th of December?
So we can vote
Okay,
that.
we'll just match it with the other
Probably,
openings
yeah.
for commissions and boards.
Sounds good.
Okay, so
Safety board.
that would be a long motion, but basically I would be soliciting a motion to recommend 3 individuals that have given interest to the Park Foundation to the town council to appoint them to the Park Foundation board, and then also extend the application deadline to December 20th.
I'll make that motion.
I think we need to.
I have to say it.
Well, how about I'll restate my explanation.
Yeah.
So I would solicit a motion to recommend Marie Sumara, Kathy Broomhead, Cheryl Parker to be the 3 members of the Park Foundation, and then also extend the application deadline for Park Foundation applications to December 20th.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Ms. Miller,
I will second that.
second by Mr. Marquardt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Markort,
Yes.
Mr. Justice,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
and Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much for being on the spot. All right. Number 5 under old business is Context Design 5-year master plan, and that's Exhibit B in our meeting packets. So I'll just kind of go through the update memo from Context Design on their timeline process and update. The steering committee met virtually on October 22nd to review the master plan goals and objectives. A draft of the master plan was shared with the Park Board on November 3rd. Park Board comments were addressed within the working draft prior to publishing a progress document. The planning team met with Mindy to discuss planning team from Context Design met with Mindy to discuss specific scope and priorities for the 4 parcels that have been identified for conceptual design. And just as a reminder, that's Potawatomi Park, Bartlett-Wahlberg Park, Town Grounds, and Robins Nest Park. A draft of the master plan was submitted to the Indiana DNR on November 15th. Comments are expected after the first of the year, most likely in early to mid-February. So it is a longer process. And this is just a draft of the master plan. It's not a finalized master plan. It was just enough to get it to the DNR for them to accept it, and then we can kind of fine-tune that master plan once we get it back. But that opens up some of those funding mechanisms, by having that master plan filed with the DNR. And then the planning team will begin concepts for the 4 parcels identified for further study, as I mentioned, as Town Grounds, Robins Nest, Potawatomi, and Bartlett-Wahlberg. So that is the update from Context Design on the master plan. So we're kind of just waiting for feedback from DNR at this point, and then we can kind of fine-tune that plan. And the steering committee that was made up of citizens and business people in the town, the scope of their steering committee's role kind of ended with Context Design. But I think once we get that draft back from DNR and we start to look at fine tuning that master plan, I would be open to, having a separate, or that same steering committee or whoever else wants to join again, kind of keep up with that. I'd like to see some continued, engagement from the town and from that steering committee, as we kind of put that plan into action.
And they had asked too, that
Yeah.
the community, we'd like to still stay involved into any point, and
Mhm.
that was, we'd love to have them.
Yeah.
So we'll reach out when we start seeing those things and continue to meet with them,
Yeah.
and share the information that's coming our way.
Yeah, and Gail, I think you're still interested in being involved with that. So once we get those comments back from DNR, then we're gonna kind of reconvene as a steering committee.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions or discussion from board on master plan?
I would recommend deferring this to maybe February or January.
Yeah, maybe we at least push it to January and see if we have anything from DNR at that point.
I'll make a motion to defer further discussion of the 5-year master plan to January 2025.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Miller, second by Mr. Marquardt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Number 6, Founder's Creek Trail, probably no updates there, or unless Dave has an update.
Well, I'm clawing away at that lot.
Okay, all right.
We're struggling to connect
Okay,
with the property owner. So,
okay,
it's not out of sight, out of mind,
all right. Well, we'll stay on it.
and we're on it.
Okay. So just for some context, I think there's just one more parcel of land that we would need to have all the land parcels that would connect Founder's Creek Trail. And then after that, we would start identifying funding mechanisms to put that trail into place. Okay. Any other questions or discussion from the board on Founder's Creek Trail?
I'll motion to defer Founder's Creek to the December meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Miller, second by Mr. Marquardt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Item number 1 under new business, we're accepting the Taylor Ice Fest alcohol vendor agreement, which is Exhibit C, and this is with the Hill Tavern. So basically, we're just accepting that vendor agreement.
And other vendor agreements.
And, okay, yeah,
We need
I
to
guess we,
amend that.
so, let's start by, amending, can I solicit a motion to amend this item to, include the Taylor Ice Fest alcohol vendor agreement, the Taylor Ice Fest, it's a shed donation vendor agreement, and then also a vendor agreement with the Boys and Girls Club, to add those to this agenda item, and then we can discuss.
I'll make that motion to amend the agenda to add further discussion with the shed donation and Boys and Girls Club to the alcohol agreement
I'll second it.
session.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Miller, second by Mr. Marquardt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Okay, so now item 1 under new business will include the alcohol vendor agreement, the Taylor Ice Fest shed donation, and what's the exact name of the company that's,
AJ Portable Buildings / Yoder Buildings.
okay, and they're just kind of donating a shed temporarily?
It's a sponsorship opportunity for use of a Yoder shed during our event for a guest services building.
Okay, and basically this just cleans up some insurance issues and puts liability on the
Vendor.
business, the vendor, yes, okay. And then, the Boys and Girls Club vendor agreement, can you just,
Sure, so, Greg's out there trying to do good things and collaborate with the schools and the Boys and Girls Club, and this is an opportunity for the Parks Department to host a Nerf battles indoor in the winter months with the Boys and Girls Club, help them drum up some memberships, It's an agreement where children will be asked to pay $10 at the door, and the Boys and Girls Club would receive half of that $10 fee.
Okay,
And so this is an agreement to go into with Boys and Girls Club for the partnership opportunity for a few dates.
okay.
To make
And it's
that
basically
happen.
just to use their facility for
Just
for
to
this.
use their facility
Okay.
and charge a fee.
Okay. Any other discussion on this, on these items from the board?
Well, the trial Nerf Wars was very successful, if I understood that.
Yeah, the kids loved it, and we may even expand if we have the indoor use of the gym and it's successful. We may come back and do a vendor agreement for, the entire winter months. So I'm hopeful for that, to give them something to do.
Okay, so it's like a trial run to see.
It's a trial run, yeah.
See if it works out. Okay.
When was the prior?
It was at town.
Oh, it was outside here on town grounds in the fall.
And there was a good crowd for that, right?
Yeah, it was successful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right, so, yeah, doing our best to nail down those age groups and get something out there for everybody. Okay, any other discussion from the board on these items? Okay,
And that was a 50-50 split, Boys Club and Parks Department, is that how that worked?
yeah. Mhm. Okay, so I would solicit a motion if there's no other discussion.
So we would be approving all three of those agreements.
Yes.
Okay. So then I'll make a motion to approve the alcohol vendor agreement, the Taylor Ice Fest shed donation, and the Boys and Girls Club agreement for Nerf Wars.
I will second that.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Miller, second by Mr. Marquardt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. Okay, item number 2 under new business is the fee schedule. And that is Exhibit D in your tablet. Okay, so I'll just kind of lay out what the fee schedules are. So there's activities, arts, crafts, and holiday activities, not to exceed $50 per session. Classes and workshops, not to exceed $65 per session. And these are just kind of boundaries, right?
These are what you adopted last year.
Okay,
Yeah.
so these are not, that there are things out there that are going to cost $50 per person. I think this is just to keep those boundaries in place for certain activities.
You're correct.
Sports and recreation, not to exceed 75 per session. Fitness exercise, not to exceed 15 per class. Yoga, not to exceed 20 per class. Soccer, skills and drills, not to exceed 100 per session. Sports leagues, not to exceed 120 per season. Summer camps, not to exceed $200 per week, not to exceed $50 per day, and not to exceed $200 per week. Field trips and transportation, not to exceed $350 per person. Musical concerts and events, not to exceed $50 per person. Dog park, one dog, not to exceed $20 for a 7-day pass, and not to exceed $25 for 2 dogs with a 7-day pass. Clubhouse, park spaces, and shelter rental nonprofit rates would have a 25% discount of the stated rental rate to nonprofits. So this is just a general fee schedule, just boundaries that we can't exceed for fees.
And the discount offer, that's changed from last year, right? Wasn't there a change?
Yeah, it was a recommended change to, it was 50% of nonprofit rentals for clubhouse and shelter use and town ground rentals. But we're seeing a lot of traffic come in from non-for-profits that possibly aren't even servicing Cedar Lake citizens. So just trying to put a couple more parameters of they need to be, registered within Lake County, not a different state if they're not servicing, that their nonprofit services are not servicing your community citizens. So, and then a limitation of 2 rentals per calendar year, instead of unlimited rentals, because that takes up a lot of the times and spaces at the clubhouse for the community, and the rate discount, going to 25% versus half off.
Mm-hmm. And I think the thought behind that is, we don't want nonprofits or businesses to be using our rental spaces as an extension of their own business location or primary location. It's supposed to be one-off type rentals,
And we're
for
seeing repeats.
community engagement, which repeats are fine. We just don't want regular, extensions of business locations. Any other discussion on the fee schedule?
Yeah, so under summer camps, it says not to exceed 200 per week twice. Is that necessary?
This was what you guys approved last year. I didn't modify that, but I believe that what they were trying to do here was a summer camp might be a 6 weeks camp, and they're saying 200 per week. But a full week, maybe it's a babysitting camp that you have, or an arts and crafts camp, that 1 week alone camp would be a $200 one. So summer camp or a camp that's not falling within the summer. So I think that's why maybe it was broke up that way when it was presented originally to you guys. This is the old fee schedule, so.
And obviously, it's not that there's any of these items that are even in programming yet, but once they
Gives us
come
the
up.
ability to go, this is our
Yeah, this is our
threshold, yeah.
boundary, yeah, okay. Okay, any other discussion on the fee schedule?
I'll motion to approve the fee schedule.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Miller, second by Mr. Marquardt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Okay, so I think that's all the agenda items we had. Mindy, if you just want to hit the high points of your superintendent's report and then the rec coordinator's report, if you just want to pull a couple items off of that.
I thought Lions Den Shelter was supposed to be on
Oh.
the agenda, and I'm not seeing that.
I think I need to amend the agenda.
Under-
Thanks for the reminder. Sorry about that. Okay, so I would solicit a motion to add discussion of the Lions Den Shelter roof renovation to this agenda.
I'll motion to amend the agenda to add that item.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Ms. Miller, second by Mr. Marquardt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Sorry, I was rolling through and
It actually comes under, kind of a little bit under written communication, but if there's
Yeah,
any motions, I
it's
mean,
kind
I don't
of-
think there's anything to be voted on, but
yeah, okay.
I was
So-
gonna touch a little on that on my superintendent report as well.
Yeah. So I'll read the written I'll start with the written communication and then, basically the Lions Den Shelter needs a new roof and probably some other, maintenance repairs to that structure. And we've been identifying, funding and what we wanted to see there. We did receive written communication from, the Cedar Lake Lions Club. Dear Ms. Ray, Cedar Lake Lions Club would like to contribute to the re-roofing of the Lions Den picnic shelter. The Cedar Lake Lions Club Board of Directors has committed to a donation of $2,500 towards the repair. Upon completion, please submit an invoice reflecting the work that was done, and we will reply with the check. This offer will remain in effect until June 30th, 2025, the end of the Lions Club fiscal year. In addition, once the work is completed, we will have prepared Lions Club signage to post on the structure. Thank you for this opportunity. Sincerely, Lion Guy Carlson, President of the Cedar Lake Lions Club.
That's that.
Okay. So I think we have a couple attachments regarding the estimate. So basically, we received a couple quotes. We have a quote from Ennegenberg Roofing, and this is just to replace the existing roof with a metal roof. and that quote comes in at $7,559. It was identified that if we replace the roof, there's some other structural items and just repairs that should be done so that we're not putting all the money in the roof, and we can kind of get that structure where it needs to be for long-term use. So we also have a quote from Henn & Sons to replace the roof with metal roofing, replace the eaves, the gable trim, do some updates to the gable trim and the ridge cap. What else am I missing on here? Were they going to do anything with the posts? Or
Around the roof quote or the renovation quote?
the renovation quote?
Oh, the renovation quote. There are support beams, they're not support beams, but there are little beams on the side of 4 of those columns there that need to be removed and the concrete repaired because some are missing. They are not structurally there for support reasons. And that will just, that's part of this, is to take that out and make it uniform versus some are missing and some are not. So that was that. And just bringing new life to this structure that is, we're about ready to lose it if we can't make decisions. It's getting to that point with the shingles and the water getting in, and it's a good time to make a decision to put a project in queue about what direction we want to go.
All right, so I see the estimate here from Henn & Sons, and that's just for them to do the same work that Angenberg Roofing would do?
So both of the roofing quotes came in with nothing aside from just the roofs themselves. There's no eave work, there's nothing. Then we had a quote from Henn & Sons to actually do the renovation that would include replacement of eaves and these kind of things, in addition to what would happen for the renovation. So there's 2 roof quotes who are exactly the same project, and then Henn & Sons came in and went one step further for more renovation in that quote.
Does Angenberg Roofing, do they have the capacity to do the same work that Henn & Sons?
They were only asked to quote that at the get-go, but this quote has been being re-upped for about a year now, so about every 3 months when we come up on it, I reach out and ask them to re-up it. And then once we got to that point, we're like, oh, we might get a little help from the Lions Club. I was working on another quote with Henn & Sons, and I said, why don't you throw your name in the hat for what the price point would be on the roof, which they actually come in very similar, and the ability to help us rehab this. So,
And what was I don't know if we have the total cost here for the total renovation.
Yeah, it's in that quote.
Thank you.
That's the roof renovation.
An additional.
I know there's another quote that came through.
I saw the email, but I don't see it here.
Yeah, this definitely is missing a page or 2.
Well, I can pull up the. $19,689.67.
So that, remember, 8,000 of that is your roof, just your roof.
Yeah.
And then the remainder of it is to wrap your columns in a, what is it, a luxury plank material, and there's a photo here of a white.
Yeah, it's kind of like that LP Smart Side vinyl siding, but it's not like vinyl siding you see on the side of the house. It's more durable wood texture. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a composite. You're exactly right. And bring new life to that space.
And this wouldn't be done till the spring, obviously.
No, and actually when I've looked at, like, we earmarked the roof for a encumbrance project when we started working on end of year projects in September. And so this, the roof pretty much is covered through what we were going to be able to encumber once our transfer appropriations go through. There will be money remaining in another balance line item that we can throw at this. And then the $2,500 that will come back from the Lions Club. This is a total doable project for a full renovation with this year's monies, but making it a 2025 project and encumbering from those spaces to make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, for sure needs to happen. I would like to see additional quotes to include the eaves part of it, to just see how comparable the full package would be.
You guys are gonna run out of time if I have to get another quote.
So this is gonna be encumbered money for, I would,
We do a not to exceed balance.
yeah,
Can we do a not to exceed, and at least give Ennick and Berkeley?
Yeah, then it wouldn't have to be to just this,
right?
At least give them the opportunity to provide a quote to do the
the
eaves.
same similar work,
The same similar work,
the wrap and the eaves.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, we could do that, but I wanna make sure that we can secure the project to move forward.
Yeah,
Not to exceed 20,000, that's five.
I feel like that would be good.
Yeah.
That's where you're sitting at with this quote.
mhm.
Mhm.
Cause, yeah, this is a next year project anyway, so I'd rather get the second quote.
So we'd be motioning to, encumber not to exceed 20,000 toward the Lions Den roof project,
Renovation.
renovation. Okay. Well, I'll make a motion then to, encumber an amount not to exceed $20,000 to go towards the renovation of the Lions Den shelter.
I will absolutely second that.
Okay, there is a motion by Mrs. Miller, a second by Mr. Marquardt. Any further discussion? And just for Dave's knowledge, you know, this isn't like a super high ticket item, but we as a board like to get at least a couple quotes, just because we have a limited budget, so.
Yeah, I would expect nothing less.
Yeah, so, you know, we might be getting multiple quotes on smaller dollar items, but we just took the approach to get at least 2 quotes if we can.
And the wrapping came in under the 10,000 for a second quote. That's why I didn't get one right off the,
Okay,
but if that's something you'd like to see, I can more than
yeah,
provide that for you.
All right.
okay,
So roll call.
so roll call, please.
Mr. Marquardt,
Yes.
Mr. Justice,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
and Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Okay, I think that was all I had to add to the agenda. Now, Mindy, if you just want to go through your superintendent's report.
Currently, we are all hands on deck, getting through, the planning and preparation for the Taylor Ice Fest. The snow sure didn't help us today. But we're working on that. That event's happening December 6th and 7th. It will be a shuttle-only event with accessible parking here on site. So I just want to remind the public of that. Shuttles will be leaving from Faith Church and Lemon Lake County Park. And they will run a half an hour before each event time frame is stated. So they'll run 4:30 to 9:30 on Friday the 6th, and they'll run 12:30 to 9:30 on Saturday the 7th. So it's a big undertaking for the department, but we're excited to bring that feel and vibe back to the community this year. The committee and team have been working very hard on bringing an even better festival to the community.
And just fingers crossed for good weather, because
Well,
definitely.
it can be cold.
It can be cold, but as long as it's not raining or, yeah.
It can be cold. We're
Yeah.
okay with the cold. It's what a winter event should
Mhm.
be about. Other things is just, I've been busy finishing up with the final edits and documents that were needed for the draft master plan to go downstate. Some projects are, we're putting the cap on them until they move forward for weather purposes, but that would be Meyer Manor basketball court. The concrete is poured in the spring. We will be moving forward with the sport coating. Possibly that's when we're going to be installing the new basketball hoops. And a decal has been made to be installed on those hoops, and is currently now in our office, identifying Smith's Ready Mix as them for their contribution to that. It was really great to have such a good partnership opportunity to work with a community to make that come to life. So a little bit more love and attention will go to that park space in the spring, and Meyer Manor should be looking like $1 million. We attended the Indiana Parks and Rec Annual Conference. In attendance was myself, our maintenance foreman Josh, our recreation coordinator Greg Wiseman, and Park Board member Sarah Miller. And IPRA conference is a really great opportunity to go and collaborate with other parks departments, you know, to learn new skills. I learned a lot and took a lot of classes, the leadership track there, and it was a good time in French Lick. So just kind of a bad time of year when we're in the middle of Taylor Ice Fest planning to take off and do that. And I think each of the reports from the other parts of the other team members have a couple touch points on what they enjoyed from the event as well. So other than that, we're just kind of coming to an end of, you know, everyday business and going to get through the Taylor Ice Fest and start with new projects and plans.
All right, sounds good. And oh, go ahead, Craig.
You know, I just have one, you know, comment or question. So, the funding for the Taylor Ice Festival are coming out of Parks and Recreation, correct?
Yes, out of your general budget.
Okay, and that's all of the funding, correct? Is
No.
anybody else donating to that?
Yes, so you have an events line item budget in your general budget, and certain, at the beginning of the year, $10,000 is allocated to just make the Taylor Ice Fest happen. We actually went back and asked for additional funds to help make the event even better, and so $12,500 of the park's general budget will be going toward have the ability to spend toward the event. We did solicit donations and sponsorships from the community. A lot of them that we did receive were more in lieu of for services, so Porta Johns were a donation/sponsorship. I don't have the final number, but about $3,300 of sponsorship money came in. That's also being used to offset the cost of the two-day event.
And I do understand that the town is supplying the police and fire and...
It's a town-sanctioned event, so we will be utilizing staff from other departments. So Public Works will be here to help run the event, the police department will be here, fire department will be here. So that is, you know, a cost associated from, I guess you would say, the town's budget. Yeah.
Okay, so for the last part, you know, I think I'm looking at the way this thing is being advertised. So basically it says, created by the town of Cedar Lake Farmers Market and the Museum and Lassens Resort.
Okay.
Where did the Parks and Rec get in there for funding the money? I think we should have been added to that somewhere.
As a sub-department of the town of Cedar Lake, it was just easier than not saying like that's the department doing it itself, because there are other departments that are involved in it. So for lack of that, if that's a recommendation for next year's marketing, I'll take that into account just to give that duly credit. But it's all over at Parks Department too.
It just seems like basically you're doing all the work for this thing for the most part, you know, as a Parks employee. And then we're also paying for the whole thing. And I would like to see our name on this.
Okay.
You know, we work hard.
I'll take that recommendation. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that's all.
I can make that happen.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Museum of Lassens Resort's opening up their facility to host some events, and Santa's gonna be there, I think.
Yeah,
Indoors,
crafts,
yeah, crafts and everything. Okay.
The Key Club will be there.
Yeah, Mary Jones helping with crafts and got some kids that are gonna be organizing that for us. I know my daughter's excited to come see Santa for the first time, so.
There's lots of free youth activities.
Yeah.
So, it's great.
Okay, and then I'll just kind of point out a couple things off of Greg W.'s report, his recreation report that he took away from the conference in French Lick. He said, which I think we've identified, many towns and municipalities are facing the same challenge trying to engage high school students in the programs and events. So I think that was a common theme that was probably brought
Very
up
much so,
at
yeah.
that conference. And so, you know, always trying to identify how to get all the age groups involved. So the round tables were really instructive. He said he learned a lot about technology benefiting Parks and Rec programs. He says they have numerous ideas aimed at enhancing community programming. Sarah, do you have anything you'd like to add from your observations or takeaways from the conference?
It's a really good opportunity to network with parks people and professionals, and you get to see a lot of demonstrations of equipment they offer and get creative ideas, and they talk about grants, and they have DNR workshops too, so there's a lot you can get from it.
Good. Okay. Anything on the maintenance report that you want to identify, or is it pretty just business as usual?
I'm trying to, did the maintenance report make it into this meeting
I
packet?
Yeah,
I saw it.
What number is it? I'm kind of lost
G.
in the scroll.
G.
Or what letter is it?
it's G.
These guys are great, you know, they're trying to get ready for Taylor Ice Fest, and then it just comes down snowing, and they just went out and had to plow. You know, Josh is finishing up with leaves in the parks, winterization of things that have to happen at the end of season, moving of picnic tables off-site of our, out of our park spaces that will come back onto into our facilities for repair for the winter months. There was actually mowing going on up until like 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, that's what we get for a kind of an Indian summer. And then Josh went to the, our maintenance foreman, Josh, had attended the IPRA, and he, you want me to talk about his points in his maintenance report, that what he enjoyed most?
Yeah,
or
sure,
what he
yeah.
his takeaways were? He writes, I learned how to be a better leader by learning how to deal with stressful situations with one-on-one conversations. He also writes that he learned to build a playground that was a good crash course on what playgrounds should consist of and stuff. There was a lot of playground seminars without the conference, so he was taking more of the maintenance track. I just wanted to kind of side note on that. And he also spoke with other foremans and other parks departments, and they found that even if they were small or large departments, that they were having similar issues with vandalism and such. Saying, actually, he told me this, vandalism is the most that anybody has ever seen in years across all departments. So it seems, yeah.
Okay.
So that was pretty much the, and these guys are full on decorating and snow removal crew until we get to Taylor Ice Fest, and then they get to help take it all down.
Okay,
So.
good.
They're doing a great job.
They are, I have a good team. I have a good team.
I see them out there and they are busting it. Good.
Okay, anything from town council liaisons?
Just looking forward to attending the Taylor Ice Fest and enjoying it. Hopefully we don't have to sleep.
Yeah.
We have ways to deal with that, you know,
Yeah.
snow removal and salt.
No, it'll be good. Yeah, it'll be good.
Better than last year.
Yeah.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Okay, so we went through written communication regarding the Cedar Lake Lions Club. I'm sorry, any questions from the board? Any other questions from the board for Mindy? Okay. All right, so I open it up for public comment.
I'll get there.
Okay.
Mary Jo Dixon, 8711 West 132nd Place. In February, I'd like to meet with the staff to locate the tree and the bench that we've proposed to purchase as a family. We'd like to get this installed like maybe March, April. If you go into months that don't have ours, the trees don't make it, and then you gotta water them. So if we can have that plan. The other thing I want to share with you, I'd asked you before to partner with us with the turkey bowling, and I invited Greg to come and see it. And I want you to know that he observed 23 children running that activity. So I invited him to continue to be in contact with Heat Club, because that's 62 kids that you develop a relationship with, and they all have friends. And then we can maybe create that volunteer base you're looking for, especially at that age group. He watched me. I just walked in the door. I read off a list. They do everything. They come back together, and it's done. I mean, we literally did nothing but talk and observe what they were doing. So I just would like to encourage that, because I really do think there's they're out there, they wanna do something.
Yeah.
We just have to encourage them to participate.
And I think that's what we discussed before, is those teenagers gotta make it their own
Yep.
event,
Gotta
yeah,
make
so
it.
hopefully Greg stays on top of that.
We are re-advertising that opportunity again to create a teen advisory board.
Yeah,
Mhm.
great,
So we're still pushing that so they can help us create the programs that they want to attend and help market it.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
and I'm waiting for Greg's program summary of what he witnessed with Mary Jo and what it would take for us to take over turkey bowling.
Yeah.
And I'll bring it to you guys for review and, you know,
Great.
when that comes, probably after the first of the year.
Yep, thank you. Okay, second call for public, comment. Third call for public comment. Public comment's now closed. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Miller, second by Mr. Markwart. Meeting is now adjourned at 6:28 PM. Our next scheduled meeting, which is tentatively scheduled for December 5th, 2024 at 5:30, that's 2 weeks from now. We may adjust, but we'll